AITA for letting my girlfriend go after she said I was too boring to settle down with me? I'm Trevor, 32, and she's Marissa, 29. We spent 4 years together thinking we were building something solid. We met at a time when we both had our lives together. I'm an insurance claims adjuster in Charlotte, and she did marketing for a tech company. The first 3 years were perfect. We were that couple others envied. Weekends in Asheville, hikes, and real conversations at dinner instead of staring at our phones like zombies. She brought me coffee in bed on Saturday mornings. I surprised her with concert tickets. It was normal couple stuff, but it felt special. She was incredibly smart, funny, and ambitious. She got excited hearing me talk about my fraud cases. Yes, apparently unmasking insurance scams is sexy when you aren't jaded by life yet. I helped her with her marketing campaigns and saw her shine in front of clients. We felt like a team. We moved in together after 18 months, finding a great apartment in Ballantyne. It had 2 bedrooms, a good kitchen, and enough room for our things without being cramped. She decorated it like a magazine, but it stayed cozy. We cooked together on weeknights and had Netflix marathons. We talked about adopting a dog when we bought a house. Yes, I was thinking about marriage, not in a desperate, I have to keep her way, but because I couldn't imagine my life without her. Damn, she was the one. All that cheesy, cliché stuff that seems stupid until you live it. Then, around the 3rd year, things started to derail. She spent more time on Instagram, showing me posts of her single girlfriends in clubs with a nostalgia that hadn't been there before. She started complaining about our routine, saying we had become boring. I proposed alternatives: dance classes, climbing, weekends, and new places. Nothing fixed what was wrong. 2 people, in particular, began to poison our relationship. The first was her sister, Paula. I had thought she was cool, but lately, she was filling Marissa's head with nonsense like, "You have to experience everything before settling down." Great advice coming from someone whose longest relationship lasted 6 months. Paula would show up to their weekly coffee dates with Tinder stories, explaining to Marissa that she was wasting her youth playing the part of a married woman. Then there was Courtney, her new 23-year-old colleague, who treated Charlotte's nightlife like her personal playground. This girl posted thirst traps with captions like, "Live your truth, don't settle for less," and started dragging Marissa to her girls' nights. My voice of reason was Gavin, my best friend since middle school. We roasted each other mercilessly but would defend each other to the death. Once, we were playing a new RPG while Marissa was out with the girls again. Gavin paused right in the middle of a boss fight. "Dude, your girlfriend is having a midlife crisis at 28. It's mathematically impressive. She's just going through a phase," I said. "Yeah, how many guys does she have to test drive before settling for your reliable model?" Gavin never wore kid gloves. "I'm just saying, when someone starts acting like being with you is a prison, it might be time to plan your exit." The red flags were there, but I told myself it was a phase. Everyone doubts their choices sometimes. I thought that by staying constant, by being the man she fell in love with, I could bring her back to reason. I was wrong. 2 events should have told me everything. But when you have a 4-year relationship behind you and a proposal in mind, you convince yourself that rough patches are just obstacles to overcome. The first disaster was her birthday. Her 29th fell on a Friday. I had planned a perfect evening. Dinner at the restaurant where we had our first date, then surprise tickets for a band she adored. It was thoughtful, personal, and romantic. But she was distant, glued to her phone, barely answering me. When I gave her the tickets, thinking it would save the evening, she barely reacted. In fact, she had already planned an outing with Courtney and the girls without even telling me. We ended up in a trendy bar in South End, where drinks cost more than most people's hourly wage. I went home alone. She stayed out until 3 a.m. She came home in an Uber and collapsed on the sofa without a word. The next morning, it was just, "Thanks for the great birthday, honey," as if nothing had happened. Then there was the work event 3 weeks later, her company's holiday party. I had gone for 3 years in a row, always introduced as her boyfriend. This time, upon arrival, Marissa bolted to join Courtney, treating me more like her chauffeur than her +1. She introduced me just as Trevor, without specifying who I was. When her boss asked how long we had been together, she laughed. "Oh, we aren't putting labels on it for now. 4 years together, 2.5 years living together. My name was on the lease, and my toothbrush was next to hers. But no labels." Then came Damon, a 26-year-old account manager with a ridiculous man bun. All evening, he flattered Marissa, brought her drinks, and made inside jokes about work that I couldn't participate in. Marissa loved it. When I tried to join their conversation, Damon steered it back to work. When I offered to dance, she was too busy networking. When I wanted to get some fresh air, she told me to stop being clingy. The ride back was silent until we were in the parking lot. Damon seems nice, I attempted. He's very adventurous, you see. He gives me the impression that I have so much left to discover. That night, lying next to someone who was already mentally gone, I should have planned my exit. Instead, I found myself looking up climbing gyms, trying to become the exciting man she wanted rather than accepting that the problem wasn't who I was. The problem was that she didn't want me anymore. Gavin called while I was scrolling through skydiving courses at 2 a.m. Dude, why are you looking for skydiving lessons? Just trying to be more spontaneous. Trevor, listen to me closely. If someone makes you feel like you have to become another person to keep their interest, that person isn't for you. Besides, you're afraid of heights, you poor guy. The ring in my drawer felt heavier every day, but I kept telling myself it was just a rough patch. I was killing myself to save something that was already dead. The conversation that destroyed everything happened on a Tuesday night in March. I had just finished reviewing a complex fraud file when Marissa sat down with that look. You know, the "we need to talk" look that makes your stomach drop. The break proposal. She launched into a speech she had obviously rehearsed, explaining that she hadn't really lived and needed to experience what it was like to be young and free before settling down with someone safe, like me. Safe. There it was. She had talked with Paula and Courtney, who both thought she was wasting her best years behaving as if she were already married. She needed to get some things out of her system before she could truly appreciate what I offered her. The arrogance was mind-blowing. She wanted to try other guys while keeping me in reserve like a backup plan. So what are you saying exactly? I think we should take a break. Not forever, she added quickly. Just until I figure things out. I need to know what's out there so I can come back to you without regrets. I just want to have fun before the boring couple life. She really thought this was a favor to our relationship. She had convinced herself that having a blast with exciting guys would somehow make her appreciate the boring, reliable me. You're asking me to wait while you test other men to be sure I'm really what you want. She stammered, no doubt realizing how bad that sounded when said aloud. But then she doubled down on her spiel. If I really loved her, I would want her to be sure of us. She wanted maybe 6 months, maybe a year, however long it took. A whole year for me to put my life on pause while she auditioned other guys to make sure mine was worth keeping. So it's a breakup with a return option if your other plans don't work out. No, I'm not breaking up with you. I'm just asking for space to grow as a person by dating other people, by exploring your options. Yes, she said. At least she was honest now. I looked at her, this woman I had planned to propose to in 3 weeks. The ring was literally 20 feet away, waiting for a moment that would never happen. For years of building something I thought was real, lasting, and worthy of protecting. And she wanted to throw it all away to see if the grass was greener elsewhere, assuming I'd still be here when she decided to come back. Okay, I said. She looked surprised, as if she had expected more resistance. You want space to think? You got it. Take all the time you need. What I had understood was that the woman I had fallen in love with had been replaced by someone who saw me as a retirement plan instead of a partner. She packed a bag that night and went to Paula's while we figured out the logistics. After she left, I sat in our apartment and took the ring box out of my sock drawer. $8,000 and 3 months of preparation for a future that had never really existed. The next day, I returned the ring and got my money back. With that $8,000, I treated myself to the ultimate gaming setup, a high-end graphics card, custom cooling, the whole package. Marissa had always complained that my old PC made too much noise and took up too much space. Now I had a beast capable of running everything on ultra settings. Gavin came over to help me set it all up. He didn't say a word about Marissa leaving. He just arrived with beers and cables. Dude, this thing could probably run NASA simulations, he said, installing my new graphics card with the precision of a surgeon. What's the cooling system? Custom loop, double radiator. The whole thing is going to be as silent as a library. As silent as your love life is going to be. He stopped and looked at me seriously, which is actually probably a good thing. Now we can finally finish that co-op campaign without someone complaining that we're ignoring her. I also adopted a dog. I had always wanted one, but Marissa was supposedly allergic. She wasn't. She just didn't want the responsibility. I found a 2-year-old German Shepherd mix at a shelter, already housebroken. I named him Diesel. Having a dog changed everything. It forced me to get up early for walks, gave me a reason to explore new trails, and provided the best wingman one could imagine. For the first time in months, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time: relief. The morning after Marissa left, I drank my coffee and thought clearly for the first time in months. No more walking on eggshells. No more trying to be exciting enough to hold her attention. No more managing someone else's midlife crisis. Within a week, I had signed up at a boxing gym in South End, a real gym where guys come to hit things and get strong. The place smelled of sweat and leather. The owner, Victor, a 50-year-old former Marine who had done 2 tours in Afghanistan, didn't take any crap. You come, you work, you progress, or you get out. He introduced me to his crew: Cody the firefighter, Ramon the software engineer, and Jasper Boone the foreman. These weren't guys who talked about their feelings. They came, worked hard, and pushed each other. I started going every evening after work. The physical exhaustion was exactly what I needed, something to focus on instead of Marissa's betrayal. I also got back into serious weightlifting. Not the Planet Fitness crap I had been doing for years, but the real deal: deadlifts, squats, bench press. I started eating right, tracking my macros, and treating my body like a machine that needed the right fuel. The transformation was visible in a few months. I had always been in shape, but now I had become genuinely strong. Not to impress anyone, but because I was finally taking care of myself instead of managing someone else's emotions. Gavin was my constant gaming teammate through all this. He'd come over after my workouts with takeout, and we would crush all the new games. This guy had a gift for making everything funny, even on my worst days. "Dude, you're getting really jacked," he said one night while a game was loading. "Like, remember when you struggled to open pickle jars? Now you look like you could lift a car. It's therapeutic to hit stuff legally." "Yeah, well, don't get too huge. Some of us still need to feel masculine." He paused. "Actually, no. Get monstrous. I want people to see us together and think I hired you as my bodyguard." Gavin created a group chat with me, Cody, Ramon, and Jasper Boone that he named Trevor's Glow Up Committee. The messages were a constant stream of roasts and encouragement. "Gavin, you posted another shirtless photo from the gym? The women of Charlotte need to know what they're missing." "Cody, this guy is going to need a bigger door soon." "Ramon, I still think you should start an OnlyFans. Insurance adjusters gone wild." Jasper Boone, "You guys are all idiots, but Trevor is clearly winning this breakup." Meanwhile, Marissa was documenting her journey of personal discovery on Instagram. There were posts from clubs in Noda, always with Courtney and Damon from The Office, who had apparently become her guides in her exciting new single life. Her posts reeked of desperation, as if she were trying to convince herself as much as her followers that she was living her best life. But my social media told a completely different story. Instead of a depressed Trevor surrounded by takeout boxes, my Instagram showed boxing training videos, gym selfies where I was clearly getting jacked, and weekend hikes with the crew. According to Paula, who called me sometimes, probably to dig for info, Marissa was confused to see how happy I looked without her. She had expected me to be devastated. 6 weeks later, Marissa started contacting me again. The texts were innocuous at first, asking how I was and bringing up shared memories, sending me photos of places we had been together. But I was genuinely busy. When she texted to propose coffee, I was getting ready for sparring. When she suggested watching our old favorite series together, I was in the middle of meal prep and planning my workout schedule. When she called on a Tuesday night around 10 p.m., I was out with the boxing crew for dinner after training. "You seem different," she told me during one of our brief conversations. "Are you seeing someone?" "I'm just living my life, Marissa." The simplicity of that sentence seemed to completely destabilize her. She expected me to remain in limbo, waiting for her to finish sampling the buffet before coming back to her safe choice. 3 months after Marissa left, the cracks began to appear, not only in her forced Instagram posts, but also in the panicked calls Paula started making. Damon had lasted 3 weeks before showing his true colors. The guy was 26, lived with roommates in a dingy apartment near the university, and his idea of adventure was smoking and playing Xbox until 3 a.m. on weeknights. When Marissa had proposed doing something that didn't involve a dive bar or his gamer setup, Damon had replied that she was killing the vibe. He started flirting with other women right in front of her, claiming he wasn't ready for anything exclusive despite his initial insistence. He ghosted her for a week, then reappeared at a company happy hour with a 22-year-old intern. Marissa had to watch him make out with her replacement while her colleagues pretended not to see a thing. After Damon, there was Brent, the personal trainer who looked perfect on paper but turned out to be a walking red flag. He was obsessed with his body to the point of canceling dates for extra gym sessions. He criticized Marissa's food choices, suggested she tighten up her routine, and expected her to split all the bills even though he earned double her salary. He ended up openly flirting with other women at the gym. When Marissa confronted him, he accused her of being jealous and clingy and said he needed space to focus on his fitness goals. Translation: he'd found someone better. Then there was Julian, the artistic soul she met at a gallery opening. He borrowed $60 from her on their second date to pay for drinks before spending the evening explaining that traditional relationships were social constructs. Julian lasted a month before Marissa caught him with one of her friends. Each failure hurt more than the last because Marissa had burned bridges to chase these losers. She had bragged to everyone about how much better life was without boring, predictable Trevor. Now, she was getting played by guys who wouldn't have survived a week in my world. Her friend group had collapsed spectacularly. Courtney, the great instigator of Marissa's liberation, turned out to be a snake who couldn't stand her friend getting male attention. When Marissa started going out with Julian, Courtney began sabotaging the relationship, claiming to have heard rumors about him. The truth came out when Marissa caught them together at a party. Courtney's excuse? He said you weren't exclusive. I was just having fun. The friend circle split, and most of them chose Courtney because she was younger, hotter, and attracted more guys. Marissa found herself excluded from group chats, uninvited to parties, and basically ostracized from the scene for which she had sacrificed our relationship. Meanwhile, my life was improving week by week. Boxing had become a positive addiction. I had progressed from the punching bag to real sparring. Victor had me working on technique, footwork, and combinations. The confidence boost was incredible. But the real game changer was Lillian. I met her at the gym where I lifted weights. She was a 30-year-old veterinarian, recently arrived from Raleigh, and she was smart, funny, sarcastic as hell, and incredibly beautiful. More importantly, she was impressed by my commitment to training. She had her own apartment, her own life, and her own passions. It also turned out she was a gamer with a competition-level PC and an ability to trash talk better than most guys I knew. We started training together sometimes. Coffee after the gym turned into dinner. Dinner turned into video game sessions at her place. Everything was fluid, with a simplicity I hadn't known in 4 years of walking on eggshells. Gavin met her when she came over for one of our gaming nights. I was nervous about the introduction. Gavin's filter tends to disappear with new people, and I didn't want him to scare off someone I really liked. So, you're the vet, Gavin said, settling into his usual spot on my couch. Trevor told me you were capable of beating him at Call of Duty. I'm going to need proof. Oh, I don't just beat him. I completely destroy him, Lillian replied, picking up a controller. Fair warning, though, I talk a lot of trash when I play. I love her already, Gavin announced. 3 hours later, after she had thrashed us at every game, Gavin pulled me aside. Dude, this one is really cool. Like, genuinely cool. Not fake cool to get guys' attention. Plus, she's better than you at games, which is both hilarious and pretty sexy. The difference was glaring. Lillian appreciated my discipline and training instead of seeing it as an obsession. She found my work in insurance interesting because I had stories about fraudsters. She loved that I was developing new skills and friendships instead of seeing them as a competition. With Marissa, I felt like I was constantly auditioning for the role of boyfriend. With Lillian, I was simply me, and that was more than enough. Marissa's texts became more frequent and transparent. The simple, "how are yous" had turned into obvious bait. She talked about our Sunday cooking sessions she missed and mentioned that our anniversary restaurant was having specials that made her think of me. Then she saw the Instagram post that sent her over the edge. I had posted a photo of a hike with Lillian and Diesel. It was nothing couple-y, just the three of us in front of a beautiful view. Lillian looked incredible with her natural beauty and sincere smile, comfortable in her own skin, the complete opposite of the forced club photos Marissa posted. An hour later, my phone blew up with frantic messages. Who was this basic girl? She was obviously playing a role. And how dared I go out with some gym girl instead of working on us? Gavin's reaction when I showed him the texts was immediate. Dude, we have to document all this madness. This is restraining order level. And plus, it's going to be hilarious to reread on the day you're married to a girl who isn't completely crazy. 6 months after leaving our relationship to find herself, Marissa called me with a tone that meant she had made a decision and expected the world to comply. She wanted to get together to have a real conversation about us. I agreed, partly out of curiosity and partly because I had truly moved on. When she walked into the restaurant in Plaza Midwood that Thursday night, the change was striking. She had the same physical appearance, but a totally different energy. The confident woman who had left had been replaced by someone tired, uncertain, and maybe even desperate. We ordered and exchanged pleasantries, but I could see she was building up to something. Finally, she took a deep breath and launched into her prepared speech. She started by saying that the last few months had been a revelation, that she had learned so much about herself and what really mattered. She was sorry for hurting me, but hoped I would understand that she needed to explore her feelings instead of suppressing them and ending up resenting me later. She still presented it as if what she did was a favor to our relationship. Everything she had experienced out there had only confirmed what she already knew deep down. I was her man, the one with whom she wanted to build a life. She was ready now to commit and talk about marriage, children, and buying a house, as if this were some kind of reward I had been waiting my whole life to deserve. She presented her decision to settle for me as a gift I should be grateful for. She had emptied her bag of adventures and could now truly appreciate what I offered. She kept repeating how much she thanked me for being patient and understanding what she needed to do. You were right to wait for me, she said with a smile that probably would have worked 6 months earlier. I know it was hard, but that's exactly why we're perfect together. You're stable and reliable, and now I know for sure that this is what I want. We can pick up where we left off, and it will be even better because I've eliminated all my doubts. She even reached out and squeezed my hand as if we were already back together, as if this dinner were just a formality before resuming our scheduled relationship. I thought we could move into something bigger, she continued, apparently having planned our entire future during her Uber ride. Maybe start looking for houses in Myers Park. I know you've been saving, and my career is really taking off now. We could be engaged by Christmas if we wanted. I let her unroll her whole presentation without interrupting. I watched this woman, who had once been the center of my universe, try to reclaim a place that no longer existed. When she finished, I remained silent for a long moment, stunned by how different I felt sitting across from her. Marissa, I think there's been a misunderstanding. I wasn't waiting for you. The confusion on her face was almost comical, as if I had told her the sky was green. What do you mean? You weren't waiting for me. We agreed to take a break so I could think, and now I've done it. That's what breaks are for. Apparently, she thought a break was like pausing Netflix, where everything would be exactly as she left it the moment she decided to press play again. I'm seeing someone seriously now. She's a veterinarian, and she chose me first, not after exhausting all her other options. The change on her face was immediate. All her arrogant confidence collapsed into something petty and venomous. Are you kidding me? Her voice was loud enough for other customers to look over at us. You're throwing away 4 years for some nobody you just met. Her name is Lillian, and I don't care what you think of her. But what does she know about you? Does she know you hate mushrooms? Does she know you get weird during horror movies? Does she at least earn a good living? Vets don't earn anything. Trevor, I checked. You're going to struggle financially with a girl like that when you could have me. She chose me, and I'm happy with her. It's over, Marissa. But I chose you, she said, her voice shrill. I could have stayed with any of those other guys, but I chose to come back to you. Her lies were pathetic. You didn't choose me. You chose to explore your options while keeping me as a spare tire. It taught me the difference between being someone's safety net and being truly wanted. But we have a history, she almost screamed, once again drawing the attention of the couple at the next table. 4 years together. You can't just throw it all away for some fling you barely know. Jealousy was devouring her. She kept demanding details. where we met, how long we had been dating, if we were sleeping together, as if she had the right to audit my life. "You know what this is?" she said, leaning in with a sneer. "It's you trying to hurt me. You're dating a rebound girl just to make me jealous. And frankly, it's working. But you're going to get bored in 3 months, and then what? You'll have thrown away the best thing that ever happened to you. All for what? Some girl you picked up at the gym." I just stared at her. This was the woman I had almost proposed to. "I know you, Trevor, better than anyone. You think she's going to put up with your obsession with insurance fraud cases? You think she'll love you like I loved you?" Her sense of entitlement was staggering. She genuinely believed that 4 years of history gave her a permanent claim to my future, no matter how she had treated me. "This is exactly what Paula said you would do," she continued, growing more agitated. "She said you would try to hurt me by dating someone else, but that in the end, you would realize what you had lost. Well, bravo. It hurts. Are you happy now?" "I'm just trying to build a life with someone who actually wants me. But I want you. That's what we've been talking about this whole time. You want me now, after confirming that I was the best you could get. That's not. Oh my God, you're really being a jerk. I came here to fix things between us, and you're acting like I committed a crime by finally understanding what I wanted." She really believed she was the victim in this story. "Fine," she said, changing tactics again. "If you want to play petty and date some rebound, go ahead. But don't come crawling back to me in a few months when you get tired of playing house with a basic girl who doesn't challenge you." The delusion was almost clinical at this stage. "You are making the biggest mistake of your life," she said, grabbing her purse. "Other people really appreciate what I have to offer." She had just shown me exactly who she had become. Someone who thought love was a negotiation where the other person's feelings were just obstacles to getting what she wanted. I texted Gavin on the way home. Nuclear meltdown complete. That woman really thought I spent 6 months waiting for her to finish her tour of the dating scene. His reply was immediate. "LMAO, tell me you recorded it. I'm coming over with celebratory drinks." This calls for a celebration. The weeks that followed that dinner were like watching someone's mental state completely disintegrate. Marissa's reaction went through all the classic stages and then veered into truly disturbing territory. First came the angry texts. I was throwing away something real for someone I barely knew. I was being petty and vindictive for not accepting her apologies. I was going to regret it when the honeymoon phase ended. Then came the bargaining. She would do anything to prove to me she was serious. She would cut ties with Courtney and all her bad influences. When that didn't work, she tried manipulation. Paula was supposedly worried I was isolating myself. My mother, whom Marissa had accidentally bumped into at Target, was asking about her. Marissa herself was suffering from a serious emotional downturn and might need professional help if I didn't give her closure. I didn't answer any of these messages, which apparently drove her completely crazy. Gavin was my constant voice of reason through this circus. "Dude, she's sending you the 5 stages of grief in real time," he said while we were gaming one night. "And I think she's stuck on the first one. Anger is supposed to be temporary, not a lifestyle." The messages went from pathetic to delusional, and then to frankly disturbing. She started appearing everywhere she knew I would be. The grocery store I always went to, the coffee shop near my apartment, even Victor's boxing gym. As if by chance, she would be there, trying to force conversations. She sent me screenshots of Lillian's Instagram posts with comments on how fake Lillian looked. Somehow, she had discovered Lillian's work schedule and started leaving comments on the veterinary clinic's social media pages, asking insinuating questions about the staff's professionalism and their hiring practices. Gavin was kept updated. "Dude, she has officially entered the stalker category. It's time to document everything." He helped me save it all, screenshots of every wild text, every weird comment she made. This woman is 2 seconds away from the rabbit scene in Fatal Attraction. The real trouble started when she created fake Instagram accounts to spy on both of us. She would like old photos from years ago, then unlike them. She watched all my stories minutes after they were posted. Using fake accounts with random names, she started following Lillian and commenting on her posts with passive-aggressive remarks. "Wow, your boyfriend is so lucky. I hope he knows how privileged he is." On a photo of Lillian hiking, some women just have that natural aura. No need for filters, unlike some, LOL. Lillian, being incredibly smart, understood immediately. Instead of being intimidated, she decided to have fun with it. when one of Marissa's fake accounts commented, "Your dog is too cute. Does your boyfriend take care of him too?" Lillian replied, "Thanks. Yes, my boyfriend is great with animals, much better than my ex's ex, who was apparently allergic to responsibility." Marissa's fake accounts grew more aggressive. The exchanges were brutal. Lillian ridiculed her anonymous harasser without even knowing her real name, simply guessing the obvious desperation behind the fake profiles. Each reply was perfectly targeted to hit where it hurt most. The breaking point came when Marissa started showing up at Lillian's work. She brought in a random dog for a consultation and tried to extract information from the staff: Lillian's schedule, her relationship status, whether she seemed stable, or if it was just a rebound relationship. Lillian's colleagues told her about the strange woman asking intrusive questions, and Lillian immediately made the connection. "It's the crazy ex." Lillian sent me screenshots of everything: the messages from fake accounts, the reports of workplace harassment, the social media intrusions. We had gathered all the evidence. "Your ex has a serious problem," Lillian told me, showing me the file she had compiled. "This isn't heartbreak, it's an obsession. And frankly, it's starting to become unsafe." She was right. When Marissa started driving past Lillian's building, an act Lillian caught on her security cameras, we decided enough was enough. I filed for a restraining order. Gavin accompanied me to court for moral support, and because he wanted to see justice served live. "It's like Christmas morning," he said, walking up the courthouse steps. "Watching a stalker get a legal slap on the wrist for harassment. Peak entertainment." The procedure was surprisingly simple, with so much evidence. We presented screenshots of the fake accounts, surveillance videos of her driving by Lillian's apartment, and written statements from Lillian's colleagues about the intrusive visits. It painted a clear picture of escalating harassment. Marissa showed up at the hearing looking disheveled. The obsession had clearly taken its toll. She tried to play the victim, claiming she was worried about my mental health and that Lillian had turned me against my old friends. The judge didn't buy it. The restraining order was granted for 1 year, with the possibility of extension. It stipulated no contact and no interaction on social media. It also banned her from appearing at places where she knew we would be. Any violation would result in immediate legal consequences. Marissa looked like a woman whose entire reality had just collapsed. She had gone from a confident woman, exploring her options, to the recipient of a restraining order in less than a year. Lillian and I went out to dinner that night to celebrate, relieved that we could finally move forward without constantly looking over our shoulders. 3 months after the order was issued, Paula called to tell me that Marissa had moved back to her hometown in South Carolina. Apparently, the social isolation, the stress at work from her harassment incidents, and the legal fees had become too much to bear in Charlotte. "She seems to be getting help," Paula said. "I think she finally understood how much she messed up." "Good for her," I replied, and I meant it. 6 months later, Lillian and I moved in together. She brought her books, her plants, and her coffee addiction. I brought my training gear and my conviction that love shouldn't feel like a chore. Gavin helped us move, naturally transforming the whole process into a roast session about my organization skills and Lillian's book collection. "How many books on veterinary medicine do you need? Are you planning to operate on dinosaurs?" he asked, carrying a box marked "Textbooks, very heavy." "Says the guy who owns 17 different gaming keyboards," Lillian retorted. "Those are specialized tools. You just have 17 books on cow diseases." A year later, we got engaged. The proposal wasn't an elaborate Instagram setup. It was just the two of us after a morning hike, sweaty and tired, absolutely certain that this was it, choosing each other. Gavin's reaction when I told him was, "About damn time. I was starting to think you were going to ask Lillian to marry me." Cody and the boxing crew were at the wedding. Ramon's small business had taken off, and he flew in from a client meeting just to be there. Jasper Boone managed the whole setup, because that guy knew how to build anything. Gavin was my best man, obviously. His speech was a perfect mix of roast and sincere emotion. I've known Trevor since we were 12, and I've seen him make exactly one good decision in his entire life: getting over the crazy one and marrying the vet. After the wedding, I received a text from an unknown number. It was from Marissa. "I hope you're happy. I know I ruined everything, and I'm really sorry. Congratulations." I never replied, but I sincerely hope she finds what she's looking for. Comment: What I really take away from this is that your worth is never up for negotiation. You get to decide what you deserve, and that starts with respecting yourself enough to walk away from what hurts. Setting clear boundaries isn't an act of aggression. It's a necessary act of self-preservation. True healing begins when you stop waiting for an apology and start taking responsibility for your own peace. You can build a beautiful life for yourself, by yourself, on your own terms. That journey requires being incredibly kind to yourself, especially on the days it feels the hardest. The goal isn't to win a breakup, but to find a partner who chooses you enthusiastically from the start. Real love shouldn't require you to shrink yourself or audition for a role you were never meant to play. You deserve a love that feels like coming home, not a constant battle. I truly hope every single one of you finds that peace and cherishes it. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.